Morbius, or as my mate who I went to see the film with rightly called, Batman. How can you argue with that? Right, this film has been getting slated left, right and centre by nearly everybody on the face of the planet. Thing is, I'm not going to lie, I didn't mind it. Like, I thought it was okay. It absolutely is not the worst Marvel movie ever made by anyone. It doesn't gel with the MCU movies whatsoever, and I know that it's one of these in association with Marvel films like the Venom movies are. First Venom, not a fan of, and I haven't even bothered to watch Carnage yet because I just wasn't inspired by the first Venom to do so. Again, it's just Sony swinging their big dick around of, we have Spider-Man rights. We are going to make movies of every Spider-Man character because we can, and we'll let Marvel keep Spider-Man and we get lots of money from doing so, but we are still gonna do our own thing on the side here. Like, this film is just an amalgamation of nearly everything that's come before it. Jared Leto, let's talk about Jared Leto. He, as Mark Kermode has said in his review, is an actor who has two modes. He has completely overacting or nothing at all. And here he is in just normal mode. I mean, I've heard Leto say in interviews and stuff like that, it was a tough challenge for him to play Morbius because it's the closest thing to his real sort of voice that he's got as an actor. But you can look at, all sorts of roles that he's done. People have strong distaste towards him as an actor. I do totally get why. I love him in Dallas Buyers Club. I think he's excellent in that film. And he's okay in Requiem for a Dream as well. But I do understand why people just don't gel with him. And in this film, he doesn't have an awful lot of charisma behind him. The guy who has all the charisma and all of the scenery chewing, but also is by far and away the best thing about the film, is Matt Smith. I think he's having a roller coaster over time, even though he's also said in interviews that he doesn't really understand who his character is and has already said he'd much rather return to Doctor Who before a Morbius sequel, if given the choice. He's a blast. He just goes for it, and there are actual scenes where he just goes for it, and half-naked dances, which is amazing. It's mad. Like, I can't believe that the most invigorating character in this film is just a bit of a generic villain with a witty, kind of sarcastic British personality. But that's the way it goes. I mean, Michael Morbius as a character has nothing going for him. I mean, you get scenes fairly earlier on in the film where he's, helping young kids and he's doing all this research into artificial blood, which has been a massive success worldwide and has saved so many lives. And that's all great and that's fine, but I just don't buy it from this character. Like, we see him as a kid, he's got his illness where he needs to have what he calls an oil change, which is basically just a blood top-up or blood transfusion like 3 times a day just to stay alive sort of thing, and his whole life he strives to be an incredible scientist in order to find himself and his friend Milo, Matt Smith, a cure, and it leads to him just being Jekyll and Hyde, effectively. The special effects of Morbius, so I think the design is all over facially, because there are scenes where he looks a certain way and then in other scenes he looks a completely different way. It kind of varies on how much real blood, the red he's got in his system, how much blue, the artificial blood he's got in his system, and overall he's just a bit sort of clunky looking. And CGI wise, there are so many action set pieces in this where you just can't tell what's happening. Like, it's either too dark or it's just millions of tiny fragments of rocks or bats just encapsulating the entire 4 corners of the cinema screen. It's tough to digest on a big screen watch. It is what it is, it's incredibly run-of-the-mill. The horror elements are quite cool. There are some decent visuals in there, but the characters are wafer thin. I mean, they've got bloody Jared Harrison. What a great actor he is. He's a phenomenal actor. He's gone from like Chernobyl to just being a secondary character. Not even a secondary character. He's like a third character that doesn't matter really whatsoever in this film. Yeah, the characterization doesn't really work here. yeah, it's the comedy as well as hit and miss, because when no, not even hit and miss, it's miss. Like, it doesn't have the same comedic charm as nearly every MCU film has, and it's just down to the creative team behind it, really. It just doesn't have as strong a lineup of creatives putting their thought processes into what they're even building, because it's just a mess. We can talk about the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene, which is, again, bollocks, because it was spoiled in the bloody trailers leading up the film. So you're kind of sitting there like, okay, when's the Vulture gonna come into it? We know he's coming. We've seen Michael Keaton in the trailers. Doesn't even appear until the credits. It was just a waste. Like, were they that frightened that people weren't going to come and see Morbius because of all the pushbacks? Or were they trying to cash in on the success of No Way Home and then get more people in to see Morbius because it's now connected with this multiverse? Possibly. I mean, with relation to that, so Adrian Toomes, who's Michael Keaton's character from Spider-Man Homecoming, he is now in the alternate universe, this kind of Venom Morbius universe, and it looks as though they're assembling the Sinister Six. I don't care. They're doing Kraven the Hunter with Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I already think is a terrible casting for that character. I love Kraven, and it's just a strange choice for a film. Morbius was always a strange choice for a film. Sony are just dartboarding movies right now, and they're banking on the other more successful, more well-made Marvel Cinematic Universe movies to ride the coattails of, and hope and pray that by staying high quality, people will come and see the Sony movies and sort of cash in on them. It's a cash grab. That is what it feels like to me. It feels like a complete cash grab. They're just pinging big name actors at these things who don't even really understand who they are or what they're doing, at least in the case of Matt Smith. Giving fine performances, pretty good in the case of Matt Smith, but just being empty and a bit soulless. I mean, the Vulture comes in at the end and it should be like a cool moment, and it just isn't, because it's dragging out this thing even longer. How many more of these movies are we going to get before we get to Sinister Six? What's even going to happen with Sinister Six? Surely it only becomes interesting once Spider-Man is fed into the equation. So what, are we going to have The Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield against the Sinister Six? Is it going to be Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 4 against the Sinister Six? We don't know how it's going to work, and yeah, it's just complicated. Like, I think the entire Spider-Man thing, the Spider-Man element to the Marvel movies is just becoming a bit too complicated. Not in terms of plot or anything like that. It's abundantly clear how they're piecing things together and how things are going on. It's just structurally very messy. So with Morbius, it's okay, you know. It's all these 1-star reviews. I don't think it's a 1-star movie. 2, 3 at best, but you know, that's just me. I am probably in a vast minority of thinking that it is just an average to slightly okay film. But if you want to let me know in the comments down below what you thought, if you think it was the worst Marvel film ever made, I think that trophy is still probably held by something like Fantastic Four, the Miles Teller version. But whatever you want to let me know, chuck them in the comments down below. Are you looking forward to anything Sinister Six related? Are you looking forward to Kraven? Just shoot it down there, whatever you want to say. And yeah, Morbius, first reaction, Batman.